This should start to sound better here. Let me get these on. And that should sound better. Got a little bit of a cable hanging there, but that'll work. So let me talk a little bit more about Fearless. And let me adjust this a bit. There we go. So Fearless came to be as a product of my own insecurity, my own shyness. And so through years of searching and then eventually coming to dating, it started out as shyness. It eventually came to dating. I wanted to change my dating life because I didn't have a dating life to speak of. Made girls run the other direction when I'd meet them. And I was the consummate nice guy. I had an extreme nice guy syndrome, trying to take care of everybody, trying to make everybody happy. And it was tiring and it was exhausting. I also was pretty ill, didn't know it, had a lot of gut issues and stomach problems, and had to take a deeper look at that. So throughout the process of going through my own experience of being poor, broke, alone, sad, all that stuff, and saying I'm determined to change my life, the Fearless Principles came to be. Now, the way I look at things is a little different than maybe the average person does. I really didn't like the idea of just learning how to mimic somebody who was naturally confident. In my mind, confidence is not saying the same words as somebody else, but it was something else. It was something deeper. How do these people don't worry about saying the same words as somebody else? They're expressive. They're free. They're free in their ability to express. They're open. And what I noticed is that I tried it for a little bit, and I would say the same words as person X who was really good with women or really confident, but it didn't come across the same way. It didn't work for me, even though those same words worked for them. Or I'd do the same movements, the same gestures, same everything, still did not work. And what was really going on, and on the rare occasion, by the way, that I did nail something and it worked, I still felt like shit. So pretty soon later, I would start screwing it up. So maybe it would work for an hour, 2 hours, an evening, and then it would start screwing it up again. And I realized that deep down inside, who I was being at a core level was jacked up, and it was just not working. I didn't like myself. I didn't like who I was. I had a lot of shame, toxic shame. They talk about it in nice guy syndrome, codependency. And I needed to get over that. I needed to face that, learn from it, get over it, and heal myself. Really, it was a lot of healing, leading and building to confidence, building my confidence in that process. Confident men aren't people that have no emotion, that don't just push and plow. That whole idea of plowing, I'm going to fake it till I make it, I'm going to force it, I'm going to make it happen. That's covering up a lot of insecurity usually. Confident men aren't afraid of their own emotions. They're not afraid of girls' emotions. They're not afraid of their emotions. They'll walk right into it. They'll feel it fully. Maybe it'll hurt. Maybe they'll learn from it. Maybe it won't. But in that, they grow. In that, they become more powerful as a man. And in that, they become more powerful to society, to women around them. And they start to really figure out what they like, what they want, who they are. And that's what turns women on, is a man knowing who he is at his core, knowing who he is deep down inside, knowing who he is with or without her, and not needing her to validate him, and is just as willing to let this hot girl that he's on a date with in front of him go if it doesn't work, if it doesn't match his core values. He's not going to try to win her over just to impress her, just so he can feel validated. And that's what I saw. I saw a lot of guys chasing validation, and it just looked like a miserable, miserable life. The ones that succeeded and got really good at getting the girls, even though they didn't work on their internals, what happened was they would get disillusioned, depressed, and then they would quit. And they would go back to being the same, or they would go from working on being outgoing to staying at home again. I didn't see too many of them end up happy in the end. And really, isn't it all about happiness? It's all about having fun. It's all about enjoying life. It's not about needing somebody else to validate you to enjoy life. You bring two happy people together, you get something amazing. You bring two unhappy people together just chasing validation, you get something miserable, absolutely miserable. And that's what a lot of these people want or chasing. A lot of these coaches are teaching is how to go out and get more and more validation. I think sex is a beautiful thing. Intimacy is a beautiful thing, but not at the cost of your self-esteem. And when you feel really good about yourself and you're really embodied and you love connecting to people on a human level, and sex becomes 10 times better anyways. So, so I want to invite you into that world. Who are you as a man, and how can you fall in love with yourself as a man and not worry about what other people think of you? And too many people run around worrying about what people think of them. And then how can you give that gift back to the world? Be giving of your confidence, be giving of your self-esteem rather than taking. And that's the next piece we're going to look at. So one of the ways we do that is we learn to step into tension. We learn to relate to tension on a physical and an internal level. Tension being what builds the masculine. You know, if I lift weights, I grow muscle. If you bury a seed, we talk about this all the time, and it has to sprout roots, break through from the shell, grow upwards through the dirt, break through the surface, grow into a tree. That's built under tension. Everything is under tension. You're under gravity all the time. Well, a man that's really good with women is good with tension. He's like a fireman. He runs into a burning building and saves lives selflessly under the risk of potential danger. And he does it while staying conscious and aware, not going unconscious and plowing. He has to be extra conscious or somebody gets hurt. Well, that's a man that's good with tension. That's a man that can deal with shit when shit hits the fan, which is what being good with tension means. Somebody's, dealing with the subtle everyday things. Like maybe you're taking your girl out and the waiter is rude. Can you as a man stand up and deal with that? Little things like this, or do you have to have the woman deal with it? Does she have to get tired of you not having your masculine? She has to stand up for you. And then therefore she has to come out of her feminine into her masculine. And because you just don't want to do it. And this is what I'm talking about, learning to step into your masculine, which is stepping into your ability with tension. Now, women have a lot of masculine today, and men have access to a lot of feminine today, which just means your ability to feel all your deep emotions and relate and flow, and the masculine's ability to handle the tension. So if the woman has a lot of ability with tension, why does she want to give it to you? Because it allows her to become extra feminine. It allows her to surrender all that part of her that's managing the masculine and become really feminine for you and dance, move, and be a woman for you, which then allows you to become extra masculine so you can enjoy her feminine. And in that, you create a polarity that's sexy, really sexy as fuck, to be honest. And so just kind of think about that for a minute. You see it in all great movies when they really nail the scene between a man and a woman and it's really sexy. They're nailing this. Now, I'm not saying there aren't times when they switch and all that stuff. If you want me to be PC, that's great. And it does happen, actually. It's not even, I'm not even saying it for PC reasons. I want you to understand that it's not 100% one way or the other. But on average, the majority of the time, masculine men are going to be masculine, feminine women are going to be feminine. And that's the majority of men and women. I have a lot of access to my feminine. I have a lot of access to my emotions. I have a lot of access to that part of my body. And I like having access to it. But I definitely like having access to my masculine. I love stepping into it when I'm on a date with a gorgeous woman and watching her be feminine. So that's kind of a brief summary. It's super short. Because I could talk on principles for hours, but I really want to hear, since this is appreciation for you guys, what do you guys want to hear from me today? I see that the comment section's lit up. Cairo, are you monitoring that, or do you want me to look at it? So Cairo will feed me questions, and then we'll go from here. That way it doesn't distract me while I'm talking. So I'm focused 100% on getting this information to you guys.
Go ahead and answer the questions.
Yeah, go for it. You want me to go? Oh, no questions? Okay, so guys, I want to invite you into sharing some questions when you're ready. Just pop them up. Let's hear what you are, because I really want to give you guys what you want. So I'm going to invite you in this area. I gave you a brief overview. What do you want to learn about? What do you want to know right now? What questions do you have? That's the stuff I would love to answer, because I find that takes us to the most interesting places. I get asked questions that make me kind of have to answer things in new ways all the time that are kind of fun and exciting. So let's see what you got. So with that said, let's step a little deeper into this. Tension. So what do I mean by tension? Now, tension isn't a concept. A lot of you guys think of concepts of the masculine and the feminine and tension. Like if I stare in her eyes for 3 minutes, I'll create tension. If I stare in her eyes for 30 seconds, I'll create tension, or 10 seconds, or 7 seconds, or whatever. And yes, that could happen. But if you're in your head doing it, you're thinking about it, and you're not actually feeling the tension, like feeling this pinch, like if I'm unaware, numbed out, and just using it as a technique, then you're not going to have the same effect. It's going to feel really weird. There can be too much tension, and there can be a feelingless tension, like a numbed out tension. And I'm talking about this tension that's just right. So think of a good massage. A good massage has can be too rough, too weak, or just right. And that's what we're talking about. This space where it's just right. And then once it's just right, is the massage therapist able to feel a lot of emotion and feeling when they do it? Or are they distracted somewhere else, just kind of going through the motions? It has a huge effect on the results of the massage. Um, and that's what I'm talking about here. Are you in relationship? So when I look at somebody in the eyes, my whole thing is, can I feel that person's emotions inside the tension? So the tension is a carrier for the emotion. I feel this wave of tension from me to you, and then I relax a little bit into my body, into my heart. Imagine I'm opening right here. And I'll usually feel a little bit of emotion. Then I can start to move into that emotion, increase the tension. I can pull back and feel it decrease. And I'm literally feeling it rise and fall in my body. It's not a concept in my mind. It's a moment by moment practice, like feeling, I don't know, like feeling water run over. You can feel it. You feel the tension rise. You feel it fall. Or lifting a weight, you feel the tension increase and decrease. And you're looking for that sweet spot where it feels really good between you and her. If you actually have this good stream of tension between you and somebody else, you can actually feel the sweet spot. You can feel the moment she kind of pulls back when it's too much. Then you can relax into that a little bit more and back and kind of play right on that edge. It's like two people in a dance dancing together and getting all the moves and the turns just right, because they're feeling and working together in time the whole time. There's more said in a conversation under the surface than is said through the words. So through tonal inflection, through the tension, through the body language, through the facial expressions, that's where the real conversation's had. And a really good conversation is the transference of emotion and feeling back and forth, not just words. Words are actually almost meaningless. I can say hi, I can say hi, I can say hi. That's three different ways I said hi, all hi. I can say, I just had to come over here and meet you. I can say, I just had to come over here and meet you. I could say, I could relax down, drop a little lower in my body, say, I just had to come over here and meet you. Something about you. And those all convey different feelings to women, because women are highly attuned to the subtle. And this subtle communication is the key. It goes much lower. You can feel down all the way down into my legs, and I can primarily feel me and what my body is feeling. Is it feeling open and appreciative? Is it feeling turned on? Can I feel my turn on while I talk to her? Do I lose connection with my own turn on because I'm so interested in feeling her? Like, hi, what are you up to? How you doing? And I've lost connection with my whole body instead of relaxing into my body, enjoying my body and how it feels in relationship to her, and speaking from that feeling. Um, and that's really the key to really good communication with a beautiful woman, is because she wants to know you're not afraid of her and that you can be yourself while talking to her, that you don't need her to validate you, to make you feel special as a man. And too many men out there, I'm going to kind of dive into this, think they need women to feel good enough. They chase women. They worry about what women think. They try to make them happy. Like, let me buy you flowers. Let me buy you a dinner. Where do you want to go to dinner? What do you need for dinner? I just want. And the girl says, well, what do you want? Well, whatever you want. I just want to make you happy. And maybe that sounds good in theory, but where are you in this equation? What do you like? Are you inviting her as the masculine into your reality? This is a place I like to go to dinner because I really enjoy the piano player. Or this is a little pub I like to hang out with because these guys are cool. They've got this great whatever over here. I love to play darts. Come on over. Let's play darts. And you're bringing her into your reality and leading it like a masculine man. This is my favorite spot on the beach because of the sunset right here. And look at how the trees, and I'm actually thinking of a real spot where the trees kind of wind in a weird way. They kind of grow really weird and sideways, and they create these silhouettes through the sun. I think silhouette would be the right word, but there's almost like shadows as the sun sets behind the mountains over there, and you can see the ocean. And it's just beautiful to sit here and watch it happen. And that's something I enjoy. And I'm inviting her into that enjoyment. She's feeling my enjoyment, and therefore she's getting more turned on because she's enjoying me enjoying a great moment in my life as the masculine. And that's what I'm doing. I'm showing her a great time, not based on what I think will turn her on, based on what I enjoy. And then I'm giving her the gift of my enjoyment. And then I'm receiving her enjoyment in return and appreciating that. And it kind of compounds. Yes, I can take her to do things she wants to do too, completely. But on the first date, I'm usually planning the first date, unless I know ahead of time she really likes this. And if she really likes this, and I really like that too, let's do it. I don't have a problem with that. But if I'm doing it just to make her happy, I have a problem with that. For example, there's ice skating down at the down at Third Street right now, outside where they by the promenade in Santa Monica, and it's outdoors and it's cool and it's kind of funny that it's there, and in a beach town, and that would be a fun thing to do on a date. It's something I could enjoy. I could enjoy taking a girl there and relaxing and skating and laughing and watching her fall down, watching me fall down. To me, that would be funny and a blast. And so that's something, if she really wanted to do that, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's just do it. Let's have some fun. And therefore, I'm owning something still that I want to do versus going, this is a first date. What do you want to do? Let me make you happy. And then that's an example of that. So we got any questions yet?
Yes, we do.
Okay, let's check on them and see what they are.
All right. So the first question comes from Jeremy. Question is tension being able to step outside your comfort zone?
Yes, definitely. You can create tension within your comfort zone for sure, because you're used to a certain level of tension. Like really successful people are very good at tension. Somebody like Richard Branson, who owns the Virgin Empire, a lot of it. He's very good at a certain level of tension, so he can step into a certain level of tension with money and business that he's already comfortable with, and he can still have fun doing it. But he's always pushing his boundaries to go to new levels of tension that are outside his comfort zone, because that's where the excitement is. What can I do that's new? Flying his Virgin Galactic into space and getting that operation going, his airlines that fly out of the atmosphere into space, is one example of that he's working on, and it's exciting and fun for him and different. And so stepping out of his comfort zone. We should always be expanding our whole lives, in some way, shape, or form. When you reach enough money that you've got everything you want, you should definitely. Most healthy people start really wanting to give back and find ways to expand that bring more value to the world. And usually, even before they get everything they want, they start wanting to. How can I give back more? Because I'm starting to get a lot of success, and that's pretty normal. And you should always be expanding in different ways, because that's what gives you a sense of purpose and a sense of a life. And even renunciates. Let's give you an example. A renunciate monk sitting and meditating his whole life is expanding and moving into uncomfortable places his whole life. He's just doing it internally through emotion, through feeling. He's diving through deep states of fear, diving through his ego, and he's expanding into his spiritual and inner awareness. So, what's the next question?
Cool. The next question is from Eduardo. How can I have more control over my emotions? Because I feel sometimes that bad emotions affect my confidence. I feel sometimes I'm not aware of the emotions that I'm transmitting.
How can I be more aware of my emotions? Because I feel sometimes bad emotions affect me. Basically, how can I be aware of what I'm transmitting? Yeah, it's called developing emotional awareness. We do a lot of practices here at Fearless to do that. And one of the ways we do it is I have students pick an emotion, and then I have them remember a time they had that emotion. And then they start speaking from that emotion, talking about that time, and seeing the other person, preferably somebody that can understand and relate to emotions, or a woman that is naturally built to do that, can start to say, yeah, I can feel your sadness, or I can feel your anger in that, or I can feel your frustration. And so getting out, learning to control, manage, be proactive with the emotions you're feeling, and then going through different ones. One sentence can have a lot of different emotions. It's not just one. So it can have two or three, go up and down. And so learning to get really clear on what you're feeling is called emotional intelligence. And that's really good for anybody to develop. That's one way. There's apps online. I've never played with them on cell phones where they actually help you to develop emotional intelligence too. Getting more aware that way. Breaking down, I was doing this the other day with my girlfriend, breaking down an acting scene from the movie Westworld with Anthony Hopkins, and how he was going through different emotions in the scene as he was as he was expressing his emotions. And we were talking about what we saw in the different emotions and developing more emotional awareness that way. And it starts to reflect back onto yourself and you start to see it. But the first thing I ever did was I did exactly what I just said. I wrote down all these different emotions, and I remembered a time I had each one, and I started expressing them. And I just started telling people stories, and I was seeing if I could get in touch with those emotions: sadness, loneliness, happiness, grief, hubris, joy, fear, courage, acceptance, love, first love, different types of love, right? Different types of fear, layers in there. There's so many as you look deeper and deeper and deeper that you can play with. It's kind of ridiculous. And the more people can feel you relating to those, the more you'll learn. What else we got?
So kind of going back to the first question, comfort zone. So how can someone start actually just expanding a little bit just more outside the comfort zone without overwhelming themselves?
Without what?
Without overwhelming themselves.
Without overwhelming themselves. How can somebody expand their comfort zone without overwhelming themselves? This is really, really important. I'm glad you asked it that way. Most people in the dating confidence arena, when they go out to learn new skills, and I've seen it in both, not just dating, but I've seen it when people are developing confidence, they go too far too fast, or they don't do enough. They sit at home reading about it, hoping that they'll get rid of their fear and then one day go out and be confident if they do enough meditation or whatever. And the other one is they go too far too fast, where they just start plowing. They go out to meet women and they run up to every woman they can and they wall off and they're like, hi, hi, hi. And if I do that enough, eventually I'll be confident. Doesn't work that way. It works that way for a small group of people who can handle that amount of tension. To me, it's like a circuit breaker on a circuit breaker panel. If you create too much tension too fast, there's a sense of a snap inside you, like the breaker pops. And you just start what we call state pumping and pushing. And maybe you don't feel any fear. Maybe you're having a rush from the state pump, but you're also disconnected from all emotional awareness and from your body. You're all up in your head rushing. And what happens then is you can't relate to people because people relate to you through your emotions, and you're a talking head now going at 100 miles an hour. I did it. I was in the bar, running through the bar. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Hey, you look like trouble. Oh my God. Hey, what's up? Boom, 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 one after another. And I would get in some conversations with some drunk girls and people, and things would happen sometimes, and other times they wouldn't, but nothing ever lasted. Actually, from week to week that I did that, I actually got worse, and I needed more alcohol to numb myself out. And then when I realized that how scared I really was without the alcohol, without the pushing, just standing there, I realized I was filled with fear. And so I started stepping into tension, learning to step in a little bit at a time. Where is my comfort zone? I got to identify that first. And then how can I step a little beyond it? And that was big. I started with day game, going out during the day. And I would walk around a mall. And because I had already been good in bars, but it was all from this drunk perspective. It wasn't real. And it was completely unsatisfying in the end because nothing changed from day to day in my life. So I figured I would start at the mall day game, just learn to change my day-to-day reality with people. I didn't even care at this time if I met women. What really mattered was I didn't want to be this scared of people anymore. And I remember going out years ago, the first time to ask people the time. And I was terrified to walk up to people and say, hey, do you know the time? Strangers, because I was such a nice guy inside that I felt like if I go up and ask people the time, I'm lying to them and I'm an asshole. So there was a sense of that. The only way I knew how to do this stuff was have a few drinks and state pump and push myself in a bar and then tell myself I was confident and be lying to myself. So I had to work my way up, and I had to start slowly. I would ask people, I had to force myself to start really small and ask people directions or the time for a little while. And I did that for maybe a week straight, just 5, 10, 15, up to 80 people a day. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I was terrified and I didn't realize it. And I've had other students like that where I've had to have them do that a lot. Now, 80 people seems like a lot, but it's really not. You can do 40, 50 people, ask quick questions a day, every day. Just walking down the street, you set a timer on 3.5 minutes, and you go in a crowded area and you go talk to 5 people in 3.5 minutes. 5 people, 3.5 minutes, that easy. You actually can do 5 people in 2 minutes if you want. You just ask quick questions. Hey, do you have the time? Do you have the direction to hear? What you're working on really is becoming very calm, cool, and collected and open emotionally while you do it. When you start to get calm, cool, and collected with that, then you add a little bit more and you make it a little harder. Maybe you ask a second question. Maybe you ask a more difficult question. Then you do 5 of those every 3.5 minutes. Maybe you only have 20. You can do 20 that day. 20 times 3.5 minutes is very easy, right? 5 times 3, 6, 9. So 20, you could have that done in less than a half hour. So I would go out and do that every day. And maybe then eventually I would start working my way up a little bit at a time. And eventually I'm asking questions like, hey, what's your favorite color? Hey, do you like Batman or Superman? I was asking more difficult questions, just playing with people. Chocolate or vanilla. I would just ask whatever was fun for me that day. And if it started to sound like a routine, like I was starting to turn it into, I just got to get these questions done, I would change it to something more fun again. And then eventually, it's, hey, I just had to stop you. There's something about you. You're really cute. Because I'm getting used to the tension with random weird questions now. If I stop somebody and say, hey, what's your favorite color? What am I doing? Creating an awkward moment. And as a man, the more I can ground that moment and bring the fun behind it, the more they enjoy. I'm demonstrating my masculinity. Well, that's not far from, hey, I just had to stop you. There's something about you. You have really beautiful eyes. What's your name? But the key here, especially during the day, is calm, centered. Big energy, but calm and centered and proactive and solid. And that's what I would do, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. Now, if you can't approach anybody, you're that terrified, just walk down the street and try highs. Say hi to 50 people, 100 people in a row. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Every day till you can start to walk up and ask a question. If you're really terrified, find somebody that can do this stuff and just follow behind them for a few days and ask them to do it. Buy them lunch. Say, you know what? Just walk up to people, say hi, and take me up. And then introduce me. And I've done that before. But we start out really simple. And you guys think you need to go out day one and pick up girls, and you can barely talk to people, some of you. And you got to find out where is that line and what is just a little beyond it. And then write down what you learned from it. Journal everything. Journal after you're done. And always write down what you learned. Not what went wrong, not what you did bad, but what you learned. So you're training your brain to focus on what you're learning. You might go through a period of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of not changing much, feeling like shit inside while you're doing this. And then suddenly there'll be a big change. And I've seen it a million times, usually like 3, 4 days. And pop, big change. And you're like, oh, this is suddenly so much easier. And then you do it again, And do this over 90 days, always progressing a little bit at a time. And you'll see that your ability to be social will increase massively. Okay? If it's not increasing, there's something probably deeper going on. I recommend you come into one of our live events and talk to us and meet us. This is what we do. We get you past this stuff and we move you 10 times faster. And we're very good at it. We can help people get social much, much faster than they can by themselves. And if you're really super shy, sometimes it's the best way to do it. And even if you're not, there's so many other subtleties that people just don't see. It's unique to the individual. I'm still today seeing people come up with unique stuff, and I've been doing this for a long time. And so hopefully that answers your question. And do you have another one?
Yeah. So how do you overcome the social programming from family in relation to expanding your comfort zone?
How do you overcome the social program in relation to family?
Social programming from your family.
And from your family.
In relation to expanding your comfort zone.
What specifically? I mean, that sounds like a vague question to me. It's hard to answer because what specifically, so what social program are you talking about? I mean, I do a lot of meditation and I do a lot of releasing process, stuff similar but different than the Sedona method or Hawkins' book, Letting Go, where I do a lot of processing of my nervous system and helping it to relax and release stories. I've taken NLP, I've taken hypnosis, I've taken EFT, I've taken theta healing, I've done all these different things. And they all work once you're in touch with the bullshit that's in your system. So I'll give you a vague answer because I don't know the specifics. So an answer might be that you got to feel, first off, what's going on inside your body. There's a story coming up. There's an emotion attached to that story. Maybe there's fear. And there's a story, I'm not good enough because my dad always yelled at me, my mom always yelled at me and told me you'll never amount to anything. Can you feel that fear? Can you welcome it? And can you keep welcoming it till you start to get comfortable feeling the fear? It doesn't mean the fear goes away. It means you get comfortable being okay with the fear. This also develops the emotional intelligence somebody was asking about earlier. And you might sit in that for a little while, really seeing, can I get comfortable with this fear? And you'll realize you can. That it's just an emotion. It's just a feeling. It doesn't control you. And you got to feel down the full breath of your body. Imagine you're opening your heart like a window. You're opening your stomach like a window. And then can I feel a little bit more? And can I feel a little bit more? And then when you're comfortable really feeling that fear, and maybe you can see the story, but you're not investing in it. You're not going, okay, let me analyze this story. Don't do that. Feel the fear. Don't analyze the story. See it. There's the story. Doesn't mean anything. There's the fear. Those are the two components. The story being something I'm thinking and the fear being something I'm feeling. Ask yourself, can you let it go? Can I let go of this fear? Can I let go of any of this fear? Can I let go of some of it? Can I let go of all of it? Maybe you'll let go of a little bit, and then you'll meditate on it for another 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then you'll let go of some more. And then you'll meditate on it again, accepting it, welcoming it, appreciating it. Imagine yourself hugging it, holding it. If your body's like, no, I'm not going to accept it, can you welcome that too? Welcome the part of me that does want to accept it. Let myself push it away as much as I do for a little bit, for 5 minutes, until you get tired of that, and then welcome it again. And then see if you can let some more go. And this is the basics of understanding these principles around processing emotion. Now, there's a lot of ways we can go with this, depending on how you blocked this emotion in your body. But what it really is just an emotion attached to an idea. If I have the thought that I'm no good, because my dad told me I was no good, and I feel shitty about it, well, if I didn't feel shitty and had that thought, the thought would have no effect over me because I don't feel bad. Just a thought. It's going to pass through my brain and move on. So there has to be an emotion attached to the thought. And if we can get those emotions to start releasing, which we can, that's when you start to let these stories go. You'll have the memory of it, but it won't have the effect on you anymore. You'll be like, oh, interesting. I'm over that now. And that's the kind of the answer to that. In short, there's a great book called Letting Go by Hawkins that I think is a good, simple read for some of these principles. We have our own version of it that I think is very effective for anybody that wants to come in here and check that out. And we're actually looking at putting on a workshop around that and at some point and teaching more of that. I really want to because I love doing it. I love helping people get through the root of their internal garbage because it just changes every part of their life. It doesn't just change when you release this stuff. It doesn't just change your relationship to women. It changes relationship to money, to sex, to health, to all kinds of stuff, and changes your whole life. So, okay, next question.
So another question is one of the attendees in the email. I've tried a lot of dating programs with no results at all. The fact is that I'm not an action taker, and I need someone to force me to get into practice. Like, do you have any advice to give me?
Did you go to workshops or just take them online? That's my first question. If you're not an action taker, I wasn't either at first. I was kind of an action taker because I was in a lot of pain, but I wasn't a full-blown action taker until I took my first workshop. So I recommend getting into a workshop. It's simple. Yes, it costs more money, but it gets you more results. Simple as that. I spent a lot of money on workshops. I never asked anybody to do something I haven't done. So in that sense, I think they're super valuable. Changed my whole life because they're on you to take action. Now, if you're not following up with the work after a workshop, after training, accountability is huge. Getting into some type of accountability maintenance program with somebody is great too. We're looking at implementing one here for people that have taken workshops. We used to have a 3-month program, bringing back another version of that at some point. Now, if you want to do it on your own, you don't have the money, you can't afford a workshop is what you're telling yourself. I never buy into people's money's realities, but because I used to be poor and I had to change my thinking to get out of that. But if that's the story, if you're not willing to spend the money right now, then what you can do is get another person to be accountable to you. Now, this works a lot of the time, not always, because it all depends on who you pick. If you pick a really solid person that's going to hold you accountable, that's a whole different story. That person will get on your ass, but a lot of times people won't. You'll bitch once or twice, and then they'll back down. Really common. So what else you can do is you can understand how you get motivated. We tend to motivate three different ways. We're toward motivated, which are usually very successful people, Richard Branson types, the types that look at something and get excited about the building of this new business, the creation of X, right? Then there's the challenge-based motivated people. You know, your pro athletes and your people that love athletics, love to go out and compete, love to, like, this guy's going to beat me in sales, so I'm going to beat him in sales. Those people tend to do fairly well. And some of them are multimillionaires. Some of them are lower on the rung. It depends on who they are, but they're the next level. And there's fear-based motivated people. And fear-based motivated people are motivated by the fear of, and this is where I started. And so I was at the fear of being alone my whole life motivated me to take action and be building my social skills. And it was huge for me. And so once I understood what my motivator was, I could use it to my advantage and really build on it. I could say I'm super fear-based motivated, so I'm going to remind myself that I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to be this guy. And then I look at what I don't want to be and look at what I do want to be. I could also use fear-based motivation in different ways. So I've literally given money to people before and said, give it back to me after I do X amount of action, because I was really money motivated. So I would give somebody, I think I gave somebody several $100s one day, and for each approach I did that day, I got 20 back. I can't remember what it was. And so I was getting paid to do approaches. That was fun. Different, right? And if you're toward motivated, after you do X amount of approaches, you can go get a massage or go get something you like, but you can't have it till you complete it. You got to have somebody there. You might have to have somebody there holding you accountable to that. Challenge-based motivated, maybe you compete with somebody. Whoever's going to get to a certain goal first has to buy the other one dinner. For challenge-based motivated people, it doesn't even usually take a big thing. It's the challenge itself, and I'm going to lose. I can't lose. It could be $1 for some of those people. I'm going to lose. And oh my God, it's the stigma of losing. So figure out which one you are, and maybe you use all three and you play with it with other people. If you're still having trouble after doing all of this, then I would really recommend a program of some type to really get on your ass and take a look at what your stories are. Because laziness, which I was notorious for, will destroy your whole life, not just your dating life. It'll take out every part of your life. And so I encourage you to take a deep look at that and really go after what's going on in there. Okay.
So we got more specifics from that question about family programming. So Jeremy says, my mom is very critical when I want to try something business related or related to women. She acts like she knows everything. So it's kind of, how do you deal with this dynamic relationship with mom when it's not kind of push himself out?
How old are you, Jeremy? Are you older? Or are you really young? And 29. Okay. So what stops you at 29 from doing it anyways? It's okay if your mom's critical, but this is what I had to do to my mom. My mom yelled a lot. Okay. And she would scream a lot. And just one day I just told her, Mom, I'm not going to put up with the yelling anymore. And I was straight up clear with her. I said, if you yell, I'm going to walk out. I'm going to leave. And I did. And she yelled some more when I came back. So I walked out again. I just stopped playing the dance. I said, I'm not going to do this dance with you anymore. I'm done with it. Okay, now your mom's giving you advice. I don't know if it's advice or if it's just hypercritical, nagging and attacking. It could be either based on what you said. If it's advice, take the advice in and then go do what you want to do. Let it marinate. Actually consider it and then go do what you want to do. You're an adult now. Okay? And it sounds like you're running a little bit of the nice guy if you're worrying about what your mom thinks. And if you have to convince her, that we call that the need to be right. A lot of us have the need to be right. It's very common. I had that really bad too. It's this idea that if I get into an argument with somebody or disagreeing with somebody, I have to win that argument because I need them to understand my point of view. I have to be right to feel validated. You really don't. You can actually let them disagree with you and you can walk away. And you can let them, this is the way it should be. Okay, cool. And walk away. It's done. And still do what you want to do. Nothing's stopping you, especially at 29. And this is an interesting principle that a lot of people just don't get. That you can do what you want to do and you don't have to get somebody else to agree. And so there's a question. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Do you want to be right or do you want to be free? And so really successful people, if you watch them, self-made, a lot of them somebody will be like, it should be this way. Nope, we're going to do it this way. And they don't worry about getting into the argument of right and wrong. I'll give you a real example from my business. I had an employee who had just came out here to work for me, and he wanted to do a lot of the marketing and photography for the business. This was years ago. And he was determined to be right. He's like, this is how we're going to do it. This is what we need to do. And I said, no. And he said, what? This is what I've worked on this. And I said, no, I've already looked at all that. I've been in business for years. I don't like that. Don't want to do that. Don't want to go in that direction. We're not doing it. And he tried to argue. And he tried to go up and down. And then he said, well, you're not being reasonable. You're not listening to my ideas. And I said, well, first off, this is my company, not yours. And second of all, I don't have to. I'm the owner. And you can either choose to, because this is what I want you to do. And if you want to do X, then you can do it. And if you don't, you think this is better, that's fine. But you're not doing it here. And that was what it came down to. He got mad. He left. And he got over it. We're friends today. We never did what he wanted to do. We've moved on since then. I didn't make it my fight. I let it be his fight. And I just ended it. I told him I don't need him to agree with me. You understand? And I didn't sit there and invest in it. Like, I don't want to argue about it anymore. This is it. It's done. Now, I'm not that way with everything. You can't be that way in relationships, sometimes with a girlfriend, because sometimes you got to look a little deeper because it's something between the two of you, right? But in general, when making a decision about something you want to do at 29 years old for your life, that's a little different. So hopefully that answers your question there. Any more?
What book would you recommend me to read to increase my confidence and associate your experience with that book? Jeremy says thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Jeremy. What book would you recommend me to read to increase my confidence? And what's my experience with that book? Confidence in a particular area or in general? And that would be my first question. Because there's a lot of great books out there. Nice Guy Syndrome is a big problem. If you've got the Nice Guy Syndrome, I highly recommend you take a look at No More Mr. Nice Guy by Glover. It was a powerful book in getting me to wake up and realize that I was sacrificing my confidence to trying to make everybody happy, and how much I chased that validation. If you're chasing validation, you cannot be confident. To get confidence, you have to actually break that pattern. It's really bad. It's really bad. And so this book really just kind of puts it in your face as a man, and it kind of it had a huge reaction on me. Now, if you're not a nice guy, maybe it won't have as big of a reaction to you. I've seen nice guys who be like, and I've seen other people read it and go, oh my God, it's like he's talking to me and it's freaking me out. And what this book does, it lays it out for you. For another one for men to become more powerful as men in the world is Way of the Superior Man by a man named David Data. I think that's a phenomenal book. And it helps men to develop their sense of being a man. I think it's a great read for that. Beyond that, there's just so many great books out there, but can't think of any where specifically about developing confidence. And yet, wait, I got a couple for you. One is Rejection Proofing. I can't remember the author's name. He has a website. He's an Asian guy, Jiao Jing, something like that. And there's another one, and I don't know the name of it. But it was a pretty good book. It's by a guy I want to actually get a hold of him, do a podcast with him someday, so I should know his name, right? I read his book not too long ago, and I can get that for you. Can you grab my cell phone right now? Because it's right on my cell phone. But it's a good book on developing confidence for men, and maybe we can add it to the comments of this video. But Rejection Proofing is solid, and it's a great story in there about what he went through. And you asked, well, how did it affect my life? I think I already talked about that. The two that had the biggest effect were probably Way of the Superior Man and No More Mr. Nice Guy. And so Way of the Superior Man is about developing these third stage men that have really stepped into their emotional vulnerability mixed with powerful confidence, moving forward like powerful men. That I think they're some of the most successful men in the world. And that's what Fearless is about. We're about helping to develop third stage men and help to bring out more of the third stage man in you. We also have an ebook here that I think is pretty good. I wrote it in 2009, so it's older now, but still people still love it. And Fearless with Women, that's a great read. And you can find that on thefearlessman.com.
So maybe how do you feel about covering the fear journal, or how you kind of use that, or
sure,
the way you teach to increase confidence by
sure. The fear journal is one of the best ways to increase confidence, and that's what Kyra was just asking me to cover that. The fear journal is a technique we use that I developed. I believe in journaling because journaling helps you to get stuff out of your head. And if it's in your head, it doesn't process properly. You need to get it out, get it into feeling, get it into emotion. So really, it's a confidence journal or attention journal. I changed it from fear journal to confidence or attention journal because I like focusing on where you're going. So there's an idea that if you're lacking confidence in a certain area, then you need to start stepping into tension in that area. And so one of the ways we do that is we get a journal and we look for tension in the environment. When we find tension in the environment, tension we're avoiding, let's say, for example, it's going and telling that cute girl she's cute. Maybe it's going over and just asking her the time. Maybe it's then turning around and you see another opportunity there's a person over there you've always wanted to meet. Because I'm picturing right now a business seminar I was at where I did this for the first time. It was a long time ago. And I was sitting there and I looked around and I said, there's an opportunity. I could talk to that cute girl. I can talk to that person about networking. I started noticing all the places I was avoiding tension. So what I would do is I would write down the place I was avoiding tension, telling that girl she's cute. I would write down a number from 1 to 10 on how strong the resistance was. If it was a 10, it was I couldn't do it, or 0 was it's easy. There's no tension. So I would look for tension that was somewhere in the level of 6 or 7, maybe 5, something like that, and I would go do it. So maybe I couldn't tell her she was cute, but I could go ask her the time. That was like a 6. So I go, okay, go do that. Then I see this guy over there. I want to talk to him about networking. Well, I do the same thing. Write that down. Maybe that's an 8. Okay, I can probably push an 8. Let's see if I can do it. Go over, talk to him. And with each one, I would then write down my experience and what I learned from it. That's the key, what I learned from it. So I went over and talked to this cute girl, and I learned that she was really nice and sweet, and I was projecting onto her that she would be harder to talk to, but she was really super friendly. Okay, that would be an example. And then the guy made a great contact. We talked business for a bit. Might be a good joint venture partner, something like that on something. And so I'd write that down. And what I found was the more I did this, I stepped into tension in different areas, the more comfortable I got with the tension. And the more I had to look for over time, bigger amounts of tension to step into. That day, I must have stepped in 20th or 5th place. I had journals filled with it because I was just playing with it that day. It was a long time ago. But since then, I would make a habit of stepping into tension in 5 areas a day, and writing them down and then reading them, the good comments at night before I go to bed so that I can put them into my subconscious while I sleep. The next thing I would do is I would take an hour every once in a while, maybe once a week, once a day, once every other day, depending on how much you want to push this, and maybe do as much tension as I can in that hour. Go to the mall and just keep writing one thing after another down for that hour, journaling, and then read it again before I go to bed. What this is doing is developing the habit and the enjoyment of stepping into tension. Not so much that it blows me out, but just enough so it's still kind of exciting and fun. And then learning and teaching myself to learn something from each one, to validate myself a little bit on each one, not get validation from them, but myself. And then doing that over and over and over again. I had a student do this in Europe who I gave a talk to. I was in Bucharest, Romania, giving a talk, and he said in a short period of time, he got a 9,000 euro a year raise, a new apartment, moved in with his girlfriend, a new girlfriend. It was hot and beautiful, and he said his life has never been happier than ever before, and it kept growing. So it's just another way to learn to step into tension and learn to enjoy it. This also is another way to develop the intelligence to know what is your boundary, what's your comfort zone, how to play at it. You might think something's not that much, then you go to do it and your body's shaking. Well, you realize you're out of touch with what your body's feeling. You need to back way up. That was too much tension and you thought it was nothing. I've seen that before where you're telling yourself, there's no tension here, I'm fine. But I look down and the guy's hand's shaking like this and they're like, I can't go over there. I'm like, well, then there's something going on and you numbed it out. So let's play a little lighter and see what happens. And then it starts coming to the surface after a little bit, and you work that out, and you work the next layer out, and the next layer out, and it's all buried in the unconscious mind. So hopefully that helps you. I think that's a very, very, very powerful tool, and I want to encourage you to start utilizing it right away. Got anything else there, bud?
No questions.
Awesome. Well, guys, I want to thank you for being on this webinar. It's a pleasure to always do these. I want to see these attendances grow and get bigger and bigger, and I want to do as many of these as I can and help as many men out there as I can become confident and become the best versions of themselves. Remember, confidence is not walling off, putting on your body armor and pushing and plowing. Confidence is the willingness to open, feel everything fully, all the emotions, and doing it anyways. It's taking that risk. It's stepping into that tension. It's being vulnerable while stepping into the tension, then owning what comes up. And that's where you really learn. That's where you really grow. That's where you really feel alive. And I want you guys to feel alive, have full lives, and be the best versions of yourself. That means the versions that aren't running around trying to play small. So with that said, I'll see you in the next webinar, or maybe I'll see you at a live event. Check them out at thefearlessman.com. I'd love to meet you in person and answer your questions in person. And remember, only the confident really live. Take care. Go backstage.